My name is Madeline Carter. I'm 35 years old, financially independent, and living in Portland. I've worked for over a decade as a private financial consultant. I'm not rich, but I've built a life where I no longer have to worry about monthly bills or unexpected expenses. I've done it all on my own. Last weekend, I flew back to Colorado for my younger brother Brandon's wedding. My boyfriend Eric came with me. He's a lawyer, calm and steady, exactly what I needed, especially after what happened that Sunday morning. We were packing up at the hotel, getting ready to check out. Eric was double-checking our flight time while I pulled up my banking app to pay for the room. The moment the screen loaded, I froze. $8,400. Gone. I stared at the number, unable to speak. Eric noticed my expression and asked, "Everything okay?" I barely managed to whisper, "Something's wrong with my account." He came over, took my phone, and looked at the transaction history. There were 3 transfers: $2,000 to a credit card under the name Vanessa Carter, $4,000 to an account held by Derek Carter, and the remaining $2,400 went straight to my mother's bank account. All of it had happened the night before, while I was in the shower. I hadn't authorized any of it. I hadn't even touched my phone since dinner. Eric's tone shifted, calm but firm. "Madeline, someone accessed your account. We need to call the bank right now." But even before that, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. A feeling that told me exactly who was behind it. And I wasn't ready for how deep the betrayal would go. As we walked down to the hotel lobby, my phone rang. It was my mother. The timing felt too perfect. "Madeline, thank you again for everything yesterday. Brandon was so happy," she said, as if nothing had happened. I swallowed hard and tried to keep my voice steady. "Mom, I need to ask you something. There were several large transfers made from my account last night. Do you know anything about that?" There was a pause. Then she laughed, light and dismissive. "Oh, that, it was actually less than I expected." My heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "Vanessa saw your account balance when she borrowed your phone. She said you had more money than we thought, so we decided to split it up. Help everyone out a little. Just think of it as a wedding gift for Brandon." I couldn't breathe. It was like something cracked inside me. Eric stepped closer, sensing my shock. I put the phone on speaker. "Mom," I said, voice trembling, "that's theft." "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she snapped. "We're family, aren't we? You've always been so distant, so wrapped up in your career and your money. It's not like you needed it all. You don't have a husband, no kids, and a job that pays well. Of course you should help your family." Eric took the phone from me. "This is Eric, Madeline's partner. What you've done is illegal. You accessed her account without permission and transferred thousands of dollars. That's a crime." There was silence. Then her voice turned cold. "Oh, the lawyer. Stay out of family business." I took the phone back. "Mom, how did you even get into my account?" There was a rustle, and then Vanessa came on the line. "I did it," she said. "Your password was easy. You always use the same one." And then the call disconnected. Eric and I stood there for a moment, stunned. "They didn't just steal from you," he said quietly. "They planned it, like it was normal." I nodded, my hands shaking. "I want to hear it from them," I said. "Let's go to my parents' house. I need to look them in the eye." And so we did. 30 minutes later, we were standing outside my parents' house. I paused before knocking, trying to collect myself. Eric put a hand on my shoulder. "Stay calm, don't let them drag you into chaos." I nodded, but my stomach was in knots. My dad opened the door. "Madeline, I thought you'd already left," he said, surprised. I didn't respond. I walked past him straight into the living room. They were all there: Vanessa, Derek, and my mother. The same people who had laughed and smiled with me the day before at the wedding. Now I could barely look at them. Vanessa sat on the couch, legs crossed, scrolling through her phone. Derek had that smug grin on his face. My mother looked as if this was just another Sunday. "How did you access my account?" I asked. My voice was tight, but steady. Vanessa shrugged, not even bothering to look guilty. "You left your phone on the dresser while you were in the shower. I knew your password. You always use the same one." "Why?" I asked. My voice cracked. Derek leaned back and said, "Because we needed the money. You live in some fancy apartment by yourself, no kids, no mortgage. Meanwhile, we're trying to raise 2 children. You'll be fine." He said it so casually, like I was being unreasonable for caring. "Don't try to justify stealing," I said. My mother held up a hand, like she was the moderator of some civil debate. "Madeline, please don't make such a big deal out of this. You've helped the family before. This is no different." Eric stepped forward. "This is completely different. You accessed her bank account without permission and took over $8,000. That's not family support? That's a felony." My dad, who had been pretending to read the newspaper this whole time, finally looked up. "Young man, we don't need a lecture from you. Madeline has always been the smart one, the successful one. She wouldn't even be where she is without our support, so now it's her turn." I turned to them, my hands clenched. "I have supported this family for years. I bought Harry an $800 laptop for his birthday. I helped pay Margaret's private school fees. I sent money when Mom's car broke down, when Dad needed dental work, when Vanessa couldn't pay the heating bill. And not once did any of you say thank you." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "That's your role, Maddie. You've got the money, we've got the responsibilities. We're raising kids. You're just living in your own world." I looked around at them, faces I'd known my whole life, now unrecognizable. I wasn't the sister. I wasn't the daughter. I was the resource. I was the bank. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I said one thing before turning to leave. "I want it back, every cent." Derek laughed. "Too late, it's gone. We used it for Brandon's wedding, and a little shopping." Shopping. My heart burned. I turned back toward the door. Eric followed. From behind, Vanessa's voice rang out. "With your salary, you'll make it back in no time. We needed it more than you." I didn't look back. "Don't ever contact me again." And we left. Back at our apartment in Portland, I sat at the kitchen table, staring into space. Eric poured me a glass of water and sat across from me. "You okay?" he asked gently. "No," I said. "But I think I finally see things clearly." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the times they had asked for money. All the moments I brushed off my discomfort because I didn't want to be the selfish one. I told myself it was family. I told myself they loved me. I was wrong. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started going through my financial history. I pulled 3 years of bank statements, credit card reports, Venmo logs, and emails. I started a spreadsheet: date, amount, who asked, why. It was worse than I expected. Over the last 3 years, I had sent over $15,000 to my family. Some were one-time emergencies, others were regular payments I had forgotten I was even making. Vanessa's rent when Derek lost his job. Mom's dental surgery. Dad's truck repair. Harry's laptop. Margaret's violin lessons. Each entry came with a memory. A phone call. A guilt trip. A sigh followed by, "Well, I guess you don't care about your family." There was a pattern. First they'd compliment me, tell me how smart I was, how lucky I'd been in life. Then came the soft ask. Then, if I hesitated, they'd push harder, remind me I was alone, that I had no real responsibilities, that I owed them for raising me. Finally, if I still didn't cave, they'd accuse me of being cold, distant, ungrateful. It was manipulation, a well-rehearsed performance. I looked at the spreadsheet. 15,000, and that didn't even include the emotional toll. "This isn't generosity," I whispered. "This is exploitation." Eric came in and saw the screen. He didn't say anything, just placed a hand on my shoulder. I scrolled back to the recent transactions, the ones they made without permission. That's when I knew something had to change. A few days later, Eric brought over a colleague of his, Sonia, a financial crimes attorney. She was calm, professional, and surprisingly kind. "Madeline, I see this more often than you'd think," she said. "Financial abuse within families is real, and it's painful. But it's still abuse. If a stranger did this to you, would you hesitate to call the police?" I shook my head. "So why is it different just because they share your blood?" I couldn't answer. My throat was tight. Sonia continued, "you're not just dealing with stolen money. You're dealing with years of psychological conditioning. But here's the truth, being generous doesn't mean being available for abuse." Eric looked at me. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But you deserve to protect yourself. You deserve peace." I closed the laptop. "I'm going to the police." And for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally standing up for me. The next morning, we made an appointment with the Financial Crimes Division. I didn't sleep much the night before. I kept imagining my mother's face when I told her I had gone to the police. Would she scream? Cry? Would she even care? Eric drove us to the station in silence. When we arrived, we were greeted by Officer Taylor, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a steady presence. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Bennett," she said, shaking her hands. "Please have a seat. Start from the beginning." So I did. I told her everything. About the transfers from my account. About Vanessa accessing my phone without permission. About the conversation with my mother, and the years of subtle manipulation that led up to this. I spoke quietly at first, but as I went on, the words started flowing faster, like a dam had finally broken. Eric added details where needed, especially around the digital evidence. Taylor listened intently, jotting down notes but never interrupting. When I finished, she looked through the folder. Eric had prepared bank statements, screenshots of the unauthorized transfers, text messages, and even old emails with financial requests from my family. After several minutes of reviewing, she looked up and said, "Ms. Carter, this is a clear case of financial crime. Unauthorized access, identity misuse, and repeated financial exploitation." I nodded slowly, the weight of her words settling in. "What happens now?" I asked. "We'll begin a preliminary investigation. We'll interview the involved parties, gather more evidence, and assess whether it meets the threshold for prosecution. If so, the case will be forwarded to the district attorney." "Will they be arrested?" I asked. Taylor paused. "That depends on what we find. But freezing accounts, restricting access, or seizing stolen assets are all on the table." I stared down at my hands. "These are my parents," I said quietly, "and my sister." Taylor leaned forward. "Madeline, family or not, you are the victim here, and victims deserve protection. What they did was wrong legally and morally." For the first time in a long time, I felt heard. I didn't feel like a bad daughter or a cold sister. I felt like someone who had finally stopped apologizing for drawing a line. And I told her, with no hesitation, "Please move forward with the investigation." Taylor gave a single nod. "We will." The following morning, my phone lit up with dozens of missed calls and text messages. First came Vanessa. "Madeline, did you really report us to the police? They're saying our accounts might be frozen. I can't pay Harry's tuition. Margaret's recital is next week. How could you do this to us?" Then Derek. "What the hell is wrong with you? Do you want to ruin our lives over some money you don't even need?" And then, of course, my mother. "The police showed up at the house. Your father is having chest pains. What will the neighbors think? You've brought shame on this family? This is not how we raised you. Please drop the report. I read them all in silence. Then I typed one reply, sent to all three. "That's your own doing. I'm not going back to the version of me who let this slide. Later that day, Eric was called by Taylor. The investigation was moving faster than expected. The bank had already flagged the suspicious activity and confirmed that the transfers were initiated from my hotel IP address at a time when I was shown on the hotel security cameras entering the shower area of the spa. Evidence of unauthorized access. Undeniable. That evening, when I returned home from work, I found someone standing by my apartment door. It was Vanessa. She looked like a wreck, makeup smudged, eyes red, voice sharp. "Madeline," she started, "we need to talk." I stayed where I was, a few steps away. "If you want to talk, I'll call Eric," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Of course. The lawyer. He's got you brainwashed now. You used to care about your family." "I still care," I said, voice trembling but steady. "But caring and being exploited are not the same thing." "Exploited," she repeated, as if the word offended her. "All we ever did was ask for help. You've always been better off than us. You know what it's like raising 2 kids." I took a deep breath. Have you ever thought about what it's like being expected to fund other people's lives, just because I don't have kids of my own? Have you ever asked me how I'm doing, what I want, what I need?" She looked taken aback, for the first time unsure of her words. "You've changed," she whispered. "I had to," I replied, "because I was drowning under everyone else's needs while no one saw mine." Vanessa stepped back. Derek might lose his job because of this. His company was contacted. "I didn't make him access my account," I said. "You did that. He did that. Mom justified it. I'm just finally saying no." She looked down. "I didn't think it would go this far." "You never do," I said quietly, "because you've never had to face consequences." And then I unlocked the door and went inside. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just exhaled. For the first time in years, I felt like I had protected myself. A few days later, my brother Brandon reached out. He asked if he could come by after work. When he arrived, he looked tired, like someone caught in the middle of a storm he never asked for. "I heard about everything," he said quietly. "About the police. About Mom, Vanessa, and Derek." I nodded. "I didn't want to ruin your wedding, Brandon. I really didn't." "You didn't," he said quickly. "You were respectful. You didn't say anything that day. But now, they're freaking out. Especially Vanessa. She's terrified about the kids, about Derek's job. Mom says she hasn't slept in days." I looked down, fingers tight around my coffee mug. "That's the weight of consequences." He hesitated. "Are you really pressing charges?" "I'm not pressing anything," I said. "The bank flagged the fraud. The police are handling it. I simply told the truth. That's all I've done." Brandon leaned forward. "Is there any way you'd reconsider? Just to avoid things getting worse?" I looked him in the eyes. "Brandon, do you think I'm the one who broke this family?" He blinked, caught off guard. "No," he said slowly, "but I think they'll never see it that way." "That's not my responsibility anymore," I replied. "I spent years trying to please them, accommodate them, and be the good daughter, the generous sister. And all it ever did was make them take more." Brandon looked down at his hands. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I said gently. "But if you really want to help, then tell them what they did was wrong. Tell them they owe me an apology, not just for the money, but for the years of entitlement." He nodded slowly. "I'll try. I can't promise they'll listen, but I'll say it. That's all I ask." As he left, he turned back at the door. "You didn't deserve any of this, Maddie." And for the first time, I saw real sorrow in his eyes. Not guilt, not fear. Just sorrow. And it meant more than he knew. A few days later, Eric came home from work with news. "They're moving forward with charges," he said, setting his briefcase down. "Vanessa and Derek are being prosecuted for unauthorized access and theft. Your parents are under investigation for conspiracy to commit financial abuse." I sat still for a moment, absorbing the weight of it. "Are they going to prison?" I asked softly. "That depends on the judge," Eric replied. "But since it's their first offense, they might get probation, community service, or restitution. The important part is they're being held accountable." I nodded, slowly. There was no joy in it, no victory dance, just quiet relief. I wasn't doing this to punish them. I was doing it because they crossed a line, and if I didn't hold that line now, they'd cross it again. I drafted a letter to Brandon, thanking him for listening, and letting him know I didn't blame him for what the others did. But I also told him something else. Until they apologized genuinely, not out of fear or legal threat, I wouldn't be attending any family events. I wasn't cutting them off in hate. I was protecting my peace. And that mattered more than pretending everything was okay. A week later, I sat on the balcony of my apartment, a warm mug of coffee in hand. The sun was setting, casting a soft gold across the city skyline. Eric sat beside me, quiet as ever, giving me space to think. I broke the silence. "You know what hurts the most?" He looked at me gently. "What?" "That it took me this long to see the truth. That I kept calling it love, when really it was obligation. Guilt dressed up as loyalty." Eric didn't say anything, but he reached for my hand. I squeezed his fingers. I kept waiting for them to care, to ask how I was doing, to notice when I was tired or overwhelmed. But it was never about me. It was about what I could give. I paused. "But I'm done giving to people who see me as a wallet instead of a person." Eric nodded. You're not cold, Maddie. You're finally protecting yourself. I smiled, tired but real. This whole experience taught me something I wish I'd learned years ago. Being family doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it makes others uncomfortable. So to anyone listening, if this story feels familiar, if your kindness has been turned against you, remember this. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not wrong for wanting respect. And you are definitely not alone. If this story resonated with you, I hope you'll like, share, or leave a comment. Because the more we speak out, the less others suffer in silence. Thank you for being here. And never forget, you deserve better than being treated like an option by the people who claim to love you.